And we're live with one of the big guns listed in the bottom right corner there, Jeff Miller, to review a Homicide Life on the Streets episode. Right.
This is season 4, episode 20, The Wedding. Although it's actually the 21st one that was broadcast because we're still out of order.
Right.
It aired Friday, May 10th, 1996 on NBC and was written by Henry Brommel and directed by Alan Taylor. And here's a recap that I have not read, so hopefully it's somewhat close to what actually happened. Kellerman finds Lewis in the bathroom not looking so well. See, that's already not exactly how it happened. But anyway, Lewis says it must have been the damn clams. Lewis tells Kellerman he proposed to Barbara Shivers and is getting married that night. Kellerman can't believe it, and when the other detectives find out, they don't either. That doesn't stop Lewis from giving them all assignments and chores to complete to help make his wedding a success. Howard's sister, Carrie, is visiting from Italy and takes a liking to G immediately. Bayless and Kellerman quickly take a liking to Carrie, who is waiting by Kay's desk. With the detectives out gathering flowers, food, etc. for Lewis's wedding, G and Howard arrive at a scene and find a body. The corpses of Kevin Lugo, a controversial radio host. Steiner says that the man has been shot 6 times with what appears to be a 9mm. G and Howard head to the radio studio where a producer tells them Lugo had a lot of enemies. Outside the studio are protesters. Apparently, the deceased Lugo thought abortion was an obligation and voiced his opinion on air many times. Lewis asks Kellerman to be his best man. Pembleton is in charge of flowers and Russert is in charge of food. The detectives are working feverishly to help Lewis out with his spontaneous wedding. Munch laughs at the detectives, thinking that Lewis is playing a joke and the wedding is not legitimate. At the radio studio yet again, G and Howard get information from a man named Simon Jackson, who says he knows who offed the guy. Jackson says a lot of money was offered to kill Lugo, and a man named Raymond DeSassi followed through with the killing, giving G and Howard Raymond's address. To head to the address given to them and find an armed Raymond who opens fire but is shot down by G before anyone else is injured. When the time for Lewis's wedding comes, everyone is at the hall waiting for the bride and groom. Even the doubting Munch arrives at the wedding and claims Lewis's bride doesn't exist. Just as he says this, Lewis and Barbara Shivers enter. Back at the precinct, G and Howard are grilling Jackson in the box. When they show him photos of his dead friend Raymond, he says it was just a joke and he doesn't know who killed Lugo. G becomes furious. Everyone is having a good time at Lewis's wedding, minus Shiner, who gets rejected when he asks Russert's preteen daughter to dance. Bayless and Kellerman fight over who gets to dance with Howard's sister, and later Pembleton screams for an ambulance as his wife Mary is going into labor. So there's a bit of a recap. And now I will read David B226 Morris's review. He says, all throughout the 4th season, Homicide has been on several occasions sensationalizing the aspects of the police work they do, on-screen murders, nude scenes, etc. This has been tolerable because the character aspects of the show have been basically left intact. Unfortunately, the penultimate episode of the season, in broadcast, it was the penultimate episode.
Right, that's it.
Right. Takes that sensationalizing aspect to the characters themselves. Thus, the wedding inflates for an effect almost perversely comical. That sentence doesn't quite make any sense. But anyway, the only reason that the episode works at all is because writer Henry Brommel manages to twist the situation into something bizarre. For starters, Lewis is getting married to someone we've never met. The only reason the audience isn't pissed by this out-of-left-field development is because the squad is as astonished by this turn of events as we are, mainly because we know less about Lewis off the job than any of the other detectives. We've learned about his insane brother and his childhood growing up in the Lafayette courts, but this is the first time we have heard of Meldrick being interested in anyone romantically since Emma Zool over a year and a half ago. Now, on the spur of the moment, he rents the ballroom in a hotel, asks his associate, the squad, to help get the flowers and food together, and gets Kellerman to be his best man. Almost to a man, they believe this is some gargantuan put-on, particularly Kellerman, who is irked that he's been partnered with someone all year, and this is the first he's hearing about it. Indeed, it's not until Meldrick shows up at the hotel with his bride to be in hand that the detectives are sure it's for real. Even the ultra-paranoid Munch still thinks it's some kind of joke. Eventually, it will come out that Meldrick had the details of this because he didn't want to jinx its success. And I won't read that next line because that's a spoiler. We also get some insight into a couple of other detectives on the squad, particularly Howard. Her sister Carrie, visiting from Florence, where she's been living since season 1, drops in on the squad. She then proves herself a very aggressive flirt, pitting Bayless against Kellerman in machismo that verges on being caveman-like. Kay tries to warn both detectives off, saying that Carrie believes in a fun-loving attitude that is nearly the complete antithesis of her sister. This is an unusual performance. And I'm going to skip that next part too. Okay, in the midst of all this murder keeps coming. With the entire squad burdened by arranging Meldrick's wedding, G finds himself going out on a call. It turns out to be a stone-cold whodunit involving a controversial Baltimore shock jock. In the course of this episode, G and Howard only get one lead, but when they track down the suspect, Giardello ends up shooting and killing him. The shooting is clean, but we learn immediately afterwards that the suspect could not have been the killer and that the only reason he was fingered for the murder in the first place was because of a practical joke by one of his friends. This is an old cliche, and the only reason that it manages to come off is because of the brilliant work by Yaphet Kotto. His portrayal of a man who has come face to face with his own fallibility is one of the most memorable work he would do. Again, we get really insight into how truly lonely the commander really is. The doubts raised by this shooting will stay with him for quite some time. In all the fuss and fury, Mary Pembleton, 8 months pregnant, goes into labor during the reception. This is the final straw for this episode, redeemed only when Frank yells out for a doctor and Emmy Shiner offers to help. The look of alarm on Frank's face is priceless. Otherwise, this nearly turns this bloated episode into a near soap opera. There are some good parts to the wedding, but for much of it, the characters look foolish and out of place. There is some good work being done by Leo and Kotto, of course, but otherwise this seems more like the season finale of a show like Melrose Place than Homicide. Only one thing saves this episode from mediocrity. This isn't the season finale. Now that we've got all the showy stuff out of the way, Bromwell and Fontana have cleared the decks for the real season ender and will be so remarkable that one can almost forgive everything that has come before. My score is 7.5. And of course, for us, watching them in the actual production order, there's actually 2 more episodes. But anyway, that's what he says. What do you say, Ben?
I like the previous episode a lot more than this one. I just for some reason I found it a bit depressing. Yeah, Kellerman was very, very much the annoying STP in this episode. And just when you said that, when you said Mary Pembleton, that amused me because, because I initially thought, because usually they're referring to him as Pembleton all the while, so it's almost as if that's his first name, rather than if it was called Frank, which is his real first name. So I just thought that just amused me, Mary Pembleton.
Yeah, Mary married Pembleton.
They could have made more out of the shock jock thing, and it also seemed like a badly written shock jock as well. Like, if the writer had done more research, it would have fleshed that character out a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably didn't have much time to do that, so they kind of made him sort of a stock character. It wasn't really that important. It was just sort of established that he's a, loudmouth radio guy who pisses a lot of people off.
Sounds like a really unhealthy INTJ.
Walking home or whatever, as they're dubbing over him on the radio, saying obnoxious things. That's your insight into his personality.
Right. That's about all we get besides the stuff that the radio manager says about him.
So I didn't quite hear that. Was it what did Morgan say?
Yeah, he's a little too far away. He said that the voiceover part at the beginning is what they used to really establish the character.
Yeah. It was that bit I thought that could be a little bit better, but I don't know. Let's have a look at the bits that might jump.
And it's not that surprising that Munch liked him. Although he's probably overrating him a bit to call him the next Lenny Bruce.
Just a bit. Even though I've not really listened to Lenny Bruce. Right, so we've got the little fella here, Max Perlich.
Well, Lenny Bruce is a great SP icon. He has a quote that I would say is the SP response to NFs everywhere, which is I may not get it exactly right, but it was basically something to the effect of the truth is what is, not what should be. What should be is a dirty lie.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
you could have that on a T-shirt, SP T-shirt.
Yeah.
Is Amy Brabson? Is that Mary Pembleton?
Yes.
Who's this Karen Williams?
I'm not sure. That might have been Barbara. I don't know.
Right. All right. All right. That's just all that. What? That's a bit of a terrible shirt choice for a Sensen type. Maybe he didn't have any other clean ones.
I don't know. I don't think it looks that bad. Little color as opposed to the usual white shirts or white with stripes.
It was this shirt that made him sick.
He's worn a pink shirt before too, so he likes those kind of pastel color shirts.
Wouldn't the STP wear annoying clothes to annoy people?
Possibly, but there's no particular indication that Kellerman wears his clothes to annoy anybody.
Right, I could see them doing it to annoy their parents. When younger. What else? Oh yeah, this bit here with the reaction. And this is when Kellerman was particularly annoying ESTP mode. And you got here's what everybody else is watching. Alright, what else? Yes, this I found tedious. Obviously, it didn't really lead anywhere. It sort of led, and I bet I thought it might be leading somewhere interesting, like maybe something might be revealed about her or something.
About the sister or about Kay?
Yeah, about the sister. But all it's just is that not particularly interesting development, that aspect of the plot.
Yeah, and that's where I think I can agree with that part of what Morris said, was that kind of seems like sort of filler.
Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of got that impression from the whole episode that for the most part it was sort of a comic relief episode, other than the subplot with G and shooting the guy. That was because it couldn't be entirely comedic. You still had to have something heavy put in the episode.
I can only think I can remember one funny thing in it, and I've forgotten it.
I chuckled at quite a few things. There wasn't anything like uproariously funny, but there was just, it was kind of there was sort of a lightheartedness to it.
Sorry, what did you say? Did you say outrageously funny? What word did you use?
Uproariously.
Oh, uproariously, right, okay. I thought this guy was quite amusing.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. In terms of Kay's sister, the scenes with her with Giardello were better than the ones with. But again, it was just some, and I bet the actors involved playing Kellerman and Carl Secor. I bet they weren't particularly thrilled with this episode?
I don't know. It might have been fun. You know, they get to battle each other some. That can be a fun thing to do. It's been a little while since we had a, you know, inter-office squabble going on.
Oh yes, this was the last bit where that was the best bit, where the little fella said that
The little fella.
the little fella that she was better looking than Kay's sister, Max Perlick, the camera dude.
Yeah, Brody.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the moment at which Kay reacts to G saying that the Lupo or Lugo had some interesting things to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I thought he could have added. Oh no, I liked him. I thought he could have added that. We already get the impression that he listens to him and is a bit of a. You know, he could have, I liked him. He could have. So yeah, I mean, again,
he did say that.
Yeah, but I mean, in those words. All right. So it's any of these. So, like I said, we always like to check to see if we've actually seen these, all of these. Some of these maybe have not happened in. So Jeff, these ones under Howard, how many of these have we actually seen this season?
I don't remember. I don't think very many of them. I think the first one, Lawson, I vaguely remember the name.
Was Moore? Was that? Did we see that one in a episode?
That might have been the hotel one. New Moon Motel or whatever, because they never solved that one. Can't remember for sure.
Right. Right, we got him. We got the guys. Shiner in there. All right.
Yeah, I like Russard's daughter. I would have featured her more on the show.
Yeah, I mean,
she's amusing in her few scenes that she had.
Yeah, this episode should have been a lot funnier than what it was, in my opinion.
I agree. They could have made it better, but I mean, I enjoyed it. It's not one of my favorites or anything, but I didn't, I didn't have like a strong negative reaction the way Morris's review was either. I mean, I didn't. I sort of see what he's saying, especially with the whole, but I mean, the pregnancy thing, I mean, that's every TV show. I've never seen any TV show that actually handled labor realistically. It's always portrayed as if mother going into labor is this instant crisis situation where you have to call the ambulance right away. And whereas in real life, it's a very small percentage that are actually like crisis labors. Most of the time, it's a very slow process.
Yeah,
not an instantaneous thing. So, but television, no matter for every show, no matter from the most realistic to the least realistic, they always portray going into labor as if it's this instant crisis situation. So yes, I did think that was a little bit silly, but it's not unlike every other TV show that has that situation. So.
Yeah. Is DeSassy the guy that G killed?
Yes, which is why I'm a little surprised that they put him up there, because I thought that the only people that they put up there were actually when things had been ruled murders, which that wouldn't have been. So, but I think Gene did make some kind of comment about having it up there to remind him or something. So he may not have had to put it up there, and he just wanted to do it anyway because he could.
Isn't there any like paperwork to complete on that to like check it out?
Oh yeah, there's definitely paperwork.
Like, maybe, whether he was, what I mean is to see whether it was an unlawful killing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have without revealing too much about the future, that will not be the last we hear about that. So, as is common with Homicide, very few things just happen and are dropped.
Good.
So,
Hey, well, what about these ones here? Caswell, did we have these?
well, yeah, all those first 11 there under Bayless were the sniper
Right.
shootings, the first sniper and the copycat guy. Slayton, I think, was the old lady that the husband killed his wife.
Right.
The one that wanted to marry the other old lady.
Oh, right. Might make that the thumbnail. Yeah, some good G acting, but yeah, I got the impression of fellow in that it could have been like there could have been like a better scene with Lewis telling us about what he really likes about his wife to be, like an anecdote about that, about
yeah.
I just got the impression that wow, if this episode was six, if this series was 6 episodes, they wouldn't have made this one.
Okay, so I have to ask because there's one part of the review, Morris review, that I skipped, not because it was a plot spoiler, but because it was something about an actor in this episode. So, what did you think of Margaret May, who portrayed Carrie Howard?
I didn't think much. I know it might sound a bit like Donald Trump here, but I didn't think she was good looking enough for the part.
Okay. Well, I don't. I can't entirely disagree with you about that, but I thought it was. At the time I first saw it, I remember thinking something along the lines of, "Is that Melissa Leo's real life sister? Because she does look so much like her
and sounds similar."
Yeah. So, the last bit then I'll read from this says, this is an unusual performance, particularly when one learns that the actress playing Carrie is none other than Melissa Leo herself.
Ah.
The disjointed editing and the chameleon-like abilities of Leo keep the viewer from realizing this. I've seen the episode a half dozen times, and it is still hard to believe that Leo is both women. It is rather astonishing. So, evidently, at least, she was convincing enough that you didn't realize it was the same actress. Which I don't think I did the first time either. So.
Well, what I thought was, I initially thought, but I thought, oh, they wouldn't have been good enough with like the split screens. I had a tiny. I sort of like thought about it, then dismissed it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So it was definitely a credit to the editing, as well as the acting to me in terms of the way they pulled that off. Because, and I think probably with even just one bit more of her, it would have been too much. But the amount of her that they have, it's just enough to kind of keep it from becoming an obvious thing.
The only thing I noticed is that she sounded similar.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but to me, that was part of what sort of sold it as being believable. She was her sister because she did seem, she looked and had enough of a sound, even though she had sort of a different. You can kind of believe that living in Europe or whatever, she sort of had this kind of different way different sort of patient. But
as I said, I mean, like for a lot of it, I was like changing weights whilst I was listening to it, so I wasn't really looking at the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was like watching it full on, then maybe I would have twigged it, or maybe I thought it looks a bit similar. Do they appear in the same shot?
I don't remember, like when I first saw it, I don't remember really thinking about it that much, other than, like I said, thinking that they found somebody who looked a lot like her. When I rewatched it with Morgan, I remember I probably did think at that point, you know, was she in fact the same person? But when I saw that they actually had somebody listed as in the cast as her, I saw, oh, I guess it was a different person. But then I thought maybe they were related, just had different last names or whatever, because, you know, in acting, obviously you have different, you know, people don't always go by their real names, so, or you have married names or whatever, so, you know, they could have been sisters. But when I looked it up online, found out, sure enough, it was Melissa Leo demonstrating her acting abilities, as well as the makeup department and everything, demonstrating their ability to transform someone. So, yeah.
Well, I suppose that's the most significant bit of this episode, then. that we know.
Yeah,
I know at the moment.
I personally find Melissa Leo as Howard more attractive than than her sister, because she has a certain kind of rugged look to her that I think works. So the other was a little bit too kind of pretentious isn't the right word, but just sort of this phony sophistication, I guess. I don't know, something like that. So I didn't really find her that interesting as a character myself. You know, if I was there in the squad room.
Right, at least now we know why that bit was added to the plot, where it wasn't really. So the only big reveal is that it was Melissa Leo.
Which is why I said when I said that they probably had some fun with that, you know, when you were saying they probably didn't like that part of the episode, I'm like, nah, I think they probably had fun with that. Not just in the interplay between each other, but getting to act with Melissa pretending to be somebody else. That was probably pretty fun for him. And this is the kind of episode actually I could see the actors, you know, enjoying quite a bit and saying it was one of their favorites, because, you know, sometimes it can be fun to have something where you're kind of doing something a little different than what you normally do. Speaking as somebody who has acted, you know, on stage and stuff before, I know if you kind of get bogged down doing a show where you're doing the same thing over and over again, sometimes it's fun to kind of get to do something a little different.
Right. And most actors and actresses are SPs, so variety is the spice of life for them.
And even the NF actors, yeah, after a while will be like, well, I need to have a part where I can dig deeper into the person. Yeah.
Right.
So I guess it's score time.
Oh dear. Was that you when you talk about enjoyment value? And I was a little bit ill at the time, so I'm still going to give it a 5. But I'll say it's a 5. But I was a little bit ill at the time, so that might have caused it. If I was in a better mood, maybe I would give it a bit more.
I will give it a 7 because it's some elements of Morris's review I agree with in terms of it's obviously not top-notch Homicide, but I still enjoy it enough. There's enough scenes and dialogue and interplay between the characters that I think is enjoyable that I still rated a 7.
Yeah, it has got quite a bit of Lewis in it, so that's a point.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of each character on the show in it. You know, you get a little bit of everybody's personality there for a bit. You know.
Yeah, Munch could have been written better.
Yeah, Yeah, it wasn't one of Munch's top episodes, but at least he got something to say in this one. After the last 2 episodes, he didn't really have any scenes at all. So
Yeah, that's right.
so at least he got a little bit to do in this one. All right. Well, anything else to say about the wedding?
No, unfortunately, no.
Okay. Well, join us next time for the real penultimate episode of the season. An episode called Scene of the Crime, directed by Kathy Bates.
Ooh, is that the Kathy Bates?
That's the Kathy Bates.
All right, okay. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye-bye.